Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we ended on this lovely eclipse, and I just couldn't help myself. I like it. Is the eclipse ending or beginning? Let's actually speed up the time a bit so that we can see. Looks like it is beginning here. I think. Let's go up to 10x time. Oh yeah. We're entering totality now. I like how the eclipse is not reflected in the reflection in the water. But yeah, there's the full-on eclipse there. And we just happened into this. Pure chance. I like it. Of course, because of the inclinations, eclipses are a lot more common in Crusader Kings. Yes, eclipses are super common in Crusader Kings. No, eclipses are a lot more common in Kerbal Space Program than they are in reality, but I still feel like this is kind of a special moment. So, let's just take that one in. Starting to lighten up now. Very nice. Okay, so we came back from Gilly, of course, in the last episode, and we've got a bunch of stuff going on here. We returned home from the surface of Gilly and all of this nonsense. We've got a lot of cash. We've got a lot of science. A return trip from Eve? Is this mission log right? Incredible. Indeed. There is enough data on Eve to keep us all employed for a good long time. This is true. I want to hop into mission control here and see what we've got. Science data from space around Gilly. I mean, if we were to send a satellite there, sure. I mean, we're going to go there again, right? We know that we're going to go to Gilly eventually. We'll take it for now. We're not going to do it immediately. What else do we have? Science data from the surface of Eve. Hard pass on that one. Surface of Eve is exciting. We've done it before in the previous series, and I'm not going to focus on that right now. Return trip from Eve from the surface was very exciting. No doubt about that one. Other than that, a spacewalk in orbit around Eve. Again, we're going to be going back to Gilly, so we'll take that. But overall, there's not a lot of great contracts here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to hop into our R&D here. And what do we want to grab? We can grab a lot. Keep in mind that this last tier here is 1,000. We're not going to be able to max this tree out by any means. We can grab these for almost free. So we'll max out this tier. This tier is only 300. So we can max out this tier as well. That would be nice. Large probes. What I want to check for right now, do we have the space telescope unlocked? I can't remember where that's at. Because we're going to need the space telescope, for sure. Advanced science tech, perhaps? Let's see. Drill-o-matic, convertitrons, small holding tanks. The negative gravioli detector and the ionographer would be really nice. That's for sure. We could go that route. And then that leads to, like, experimental science. So there's a narrowband scanner. Sure. Where is the telescope at? I cannot remember. That's the monopropellant APU. Fuel cell array. It's in here somewhere. I can tell you that much. I'm pretty sure it's down this way somewhere. Oh, no, that's not it. I swear it's here. Sure. Let's hop into the VAB and see if we've got it. Is it in one of the texts that we already picked up? Let's see here. I think it's under science. Yeah, we have the infrared telescope here. Okay, so we do already have it. That's good to know. I do want to get our last few science experiments. So the negative gravioli detector would be a great one to get. We'll hop into here, and that would necessitate getting field science, which gets us the Probodopodine Rove Mate, sure. But we'll also head into advanced science tech, getting the ionographer and the negative gravioli detector. That's all very handy. Also the scanning arm, but we're probably not going to make heavy use of the scanning arm here. The narrowband scanner I'm not that interested in either. Okay. We could grab very heavy rocketry if we, for some reason, wanted to use the vector. That would be okay too. And the Clydesdale, if we wanted to boost up our SRB strength. So we can grab that as well. And then from there, I think we're just going to look at filling out this tier. So we grab our nuclear propulsion, our large volume containment, our advanced metalworks, our composites, our high altitude flight. We can't quite fill this out. We're very close. So we've almost got science done here. We're going to need 4,000 plus another a lot here, like 1,100, 2,200, 3,300, 4,400. So that's 88,000 or 8,800 science there, plus another 300. So we need a grand total here of 9,200 science, 9,100 science. I think we have 100 right now. So all we need is 9,000 more science. Cool. So I think what we're going to do right now, that our mission, of course, is to do deep space mining, right? I haven't lost sight of that. So I think what we're going to do for now is we're going to work on getting ourselves a space telescope here over Kerbal. And we're going to start looking for some asteroids. So I think we'll use a remote guidance unit, a medium-sized one. Let's take a look here. The infrared telescope is that size. Okay. So something like that. I actually think that I want to make this be ion powered. So we could do like a xenon container. We could use a smaller remote guidance unit for that. So we would do, in the pods, we would do like an XS1. Is that right? I think that's a little too small. Yeah, that's a little too small. A 1S? Yeah, I think this is the size we want. So then a xenon container would go there. We'd have an infrared telescope here. We might even want a second container of xenon gas. This is probably going to be wildly overkill, but we'll be able to put this basically anywhere we want it. And then we could put like an engine plate here. And an EP12 is the size we want. We want this to be short for our variant. Yes, that is correct. And then we could have this be like quad or 4x1. I think quad is probably the way to go, looking at the sizes here. I've bypassed it. There we go. So we make this be quad, like that. That's still a little bit much in terms of the size. We'll try triple. Triple works. Okay, so if we look at the delta V here, wow. That's a ridiculous amount of delta V. It is not much thrust to weight. We're not surprised about that. So what else do we need on this? We're going to need solar panels. And how much power are we going to need to run the 3 engines here? 8.74 per second times 3. Let me pull up a calculator. So 8.74 times 3 is 26.22 power flow. We're also going to need a little bit of power flow for the remote guidance unit, and we should probably have a battery in here as well, just in case. So we could bring like a 1K battery, like that. That will lower our barely lower our thrust weight at all, actually. So like 24,200 delta V. Yeah, we end up losing like 700 delta V for that battery. I really don't care. So that's completely and totally fine. We would need... Electric charge here is 8.3 per second for the 1X5. These solar panels can't be retracted, but that's okay. Okay, so these guys here, hypothetically, I would like to have it be 2 total solar panels. That variant. Okay. So this would be like half of, well, not quite half. We need like 10 more power. The Gigantor would do the trick. A single Gigantor would do the trick. How big is a Gigantor compared to what we've got here? How ridiculous does this look? Actually, that's not that ridiculous looking. We could potentially grab this, put in an, actually not like that. We could potentially grab this, put in an extra xenon container. Get rid of that. Put in an extra xenon container here, and then attach this like that. That actually lowers our delta V, but that's okay. That's just a little bit better in terms of the size of this thing. We would also, of course, need an antenna on this. So that's the thing. I would also not mind putting a thermometer on here just so that we can do quick science contracts. So we would put like a thermometer here. And then we put our... I would probably want this to be a relay antenna, I would think. Like our most powerful relay antenna, just in case we decide to put it somewhere ridiculous. RA15 is, I think, the best we've got for now. We could always upgrade that to, I think it's an RA100. That's the best relay antenna. But for now, we could have that be attached something like here. Along those lines. So that would be our payload that we would deliver there. And then we would have a coupling here. We would need like a TD12. I would definitely want some sort of a circularization stage. And we could put in something along the lines of a T800. This is probably wildly overkill. But a T800 and a Terrier. Like this. And then we'd have another decoupler. Oh, we'd need a fairing here. That would go below, or rather above this decoupler? No, below the decoupler. We'd put the fairing here. So we'd put in a payload fairing. 1.25 meter is probably fine. Yikes. It clips right through. Okay. I'm not super shocked about that. Is there like a folding relay antenna? Hang on. Let's cancel that for the moment. Do we have a folding relay antenna? I mean, there's a Communitron here. That has a... It's not a relay antenna, but it has the same range. If we were to do this, I would want it to be angled substantially differently than this, probably. I mean, would that fit in the fairing? So let's build this fairing and see. We built it out to be... Oh yeah, that would fit. So we could get rid of the relay antenna portion. It doesn't have to be a relay antenna. That would just be a nice to have sort of thing. And we could do something kind of like this. That'll fit in the fairing just fine. And then we put this here. And we would put in another TD12 decoupler. Like that. And then we would do a fuel tank adapters up to Rockamax. So it would be something like this. And then, say, a pair of big orange tanks. Which are not by default orange. And that makes me a little bit angry. I'm not going to lie. So, if we did this and then a mainsail, how much power would we have versus how much lifting power would we need? That's a question. So, we put in a mainsail here. And that would be, of course, this guy. We would also probably need an aerodynamic overlay here and a center of mass overlay. So we would need some sort of aerodynamic tail fin system here. We've unlocked quite a number more of these, but I'm still going to be using just the tail fin. And where is the tail fin? Not the aeroplane tail fin. I want the regular tail fin. Winglet. Tail fin. There we go. So we just put in 4 of these, and we'd want it to be somewhere around here-ish. Kind of ridiculous, but it'll do. I would want to angle them slightly differently. Something kind of like this. Okay. So what's our thrust to weight looking like? 1.43. So we're going to need some side boosters here if we want to lift this thing. But this has so much delta V. Like, this can get anywhere. Literally anywhere. And we'll just call this the scope. Perfect. The scope. TM. There we go. So we're going to need some side boosters on this. We will happily put in some radial decouplers. We're definitely only going to need 2 here. That's for sure. And we'll mount those, I don't know, somewhere around here. What strength of boosters will we need? Not huge. We're not going to need Clydesdales, I can tell you that. These are, of course, new. And how much power would those have? 1.56 on their own, without even the mainsail. 1.92 with the mainsail. That's overkill, for sure. Polluxes, what would they have? 1.87? Okay, what if we were to downgrade those to What, maybe thoroughbreds? I'm just checking the masses here. Yeah, thoroughbreds would be the next step down, I think. Actually, thoroughbreds are a step up over pollexes. So that's not going to be any smaller. It would be kickbacks. That would be the next step down. So kickbacks would go in something like this. And what would they look like for thrust to weight? 1.79. That's more doable, but maybe even thumpers. Like, these are going to be kind of hilariously small. 1.69. That's much better. So we would move these down. They'd get positioned something like this. And then we would move this entire structure down quite a lot. We would need to be a lot lower in the mass here. So the center of mass, we'd want to drop that down to be like here. These are some wimpy little boosters, but they are slightly necessary. Very slightly, but they are slightly necessary. So we do that, and we could put some aerodynamic nose cones on there. These would be what? Just like the standard aerodynamic nose cone? Like, not the miniature one, but like, this would be a small nose cone. That's too small. Where's the standard one? Am I just blind? I'm probably just blind. That's the Mark 12A. That's the Mark 7. Way too much. Miniature, that's too much. This one. That's the one I'm looking for. So something kind of like this. We would, of course, want to strut this a little bit. We would strut these from down here, simply up to here, just to make sure that that's strutted. And then I'd also like to make sure that this joint here is fine. So I'd like to strut from somewhere like outside of the fairing here. Somewhere like here to here. I feel like tri-symmetry is maybe not what we want, but just connect it up something like this. I mean, it's not pretty, but it'll make things a little bit more stable. In theory, this should be fine. We need to make sure that these are together. 1.68, okay. And then that separates, checking the staging here. All of this looks decent. The engine plate we would never want to jettison. So we do something like that. Okay, so in theory, that will do the trick. Let's go ahead and save this and launch it. And we'll see how this goes. This is going to be very, very interesting. We're going to have very little SRB booster for, well, it's just, they're very small. They're very small. Very little gimbaling from the SRBs, but that may not actually end up being necessary. So let's go ahead and launch this, and let's see how it goes. Pretty decent off the pad, but with 1.68 thrust to weight, we knew that that was going to be the case. And we're just going to try to lock to prograde here and see how it goes. Our SRBs are only going to have another 30 seconds of flight left in them. Our heading is pretty far off of equatorial here. Let's just try to bring that down a bit. Need to bring it down just a smidge further. Okay, let's see how that goes. SRB is going to be falling off. And there they go. We don't have a KER on this, so we'll hop into maneuver mode here. Yeah, this seems fine. Apoapsis of 25 kilometers. Heading is not perfectly equatorial, but it does not need to be. And I expect that this rocket is just wildly overkill for what we're doing here, for the record. I'm not trying to make this efficiently. I'm trying to make a rocket that can be reused in other locations, not just around Kerbal. Okay, so our apoapsis is coming on up. We should hop into orbital mode. There we go. 85 kilometer apoapsis. 90 and 100. We'll call that good. And we'll add a maneuver here. That's going to be a fair amount of delta V to circularize that orbit, but that's okay. And we're just going to hang out in this orbit for the time being. It's very similar to our ComSat Mark 1 orbit. We'll just go ahead and hang out at the maneuver node. We will deploy our airstream protective shell. Our fairing is no longer necessary. We will not be deploying our Gigantors just yet. So we're going to start heading on over, but all we have to turn here is our reaction wheel and our tail fins. So that's going to be a little bit complicated. And we're now officially in space. So actually we should be physics warping. I was thinking about time warping, but then I was like, wait a second. We need to continue to turn. So we will physics warp our way on over. 20 seconds on that. Okay. And we'll start our burn shortly here. It's not exactly correct, but we will change very quickly with the gimbaling from our engine. There we go. And we'll just lock to the maneuver node, and we're going to get into orbit with this. Like, we're not going to have this tank burned out yet. So that's kind of funny. Like I said, this is intended to be able to go multiple places. For now, maybe we'll actually put this around Minmus or something. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. This is good enough for now. It's a good enough orbit. We'll just stop this tumble, and let's see what we want to do. We will start object tracking. Oh, it needs to be activated on a solar orbit. Well, there we go. We can go to a solar orbit. That'll do. Absolutely fine. I haven't done this very much, so we definitely need to head out to Moon and get ourselves a gravity assist if we want to do that. I mean, we don't have to. We can just burn our way out of the system if we wanted to. That would be absolutely fine, actually. But we don't need to do that, so we'll just try to grab our maneuver here. Nope. That was not what we wanted. We'll grab our maneuver here and just look for something like this. Cool. There's an escape velocity at an awkward inclination, but that is completely fine. We'll physics warp our way on over to that location. And this burn is actually still not going to burn out this first stage. That is hilarious. I mean, this is a pretty light... we should extend our solar panels at this point. This is a pretty light payload, for sure. We have a lot of maneuvering capacity. Like, look at this Delta V. That is insane. We can take this literally anywhere we want to. Oh, we're catching back up with the solar eclipse. Cool. Well, we'll just position for this burn. And this burn will put us where we need to be, which is a solar orbit. So we'll go ahead and warp to this as soon as we are in position, which is right about now. Good enough. And we'll have plenty of electric charge as well. In theory. We should also deploy our Communitron before we head out. That is definitely something that we should do. If we don't do that, we will lose probe control. We would not want that. So we're going to do this burn here in a moment. We've got about 20 seconds. 10. And we'll begin the burn now. And off we go. We're still going to have Delta V in this tank. It's only moderately crazy, this particular design. Like, this is an insane amount of Delta V. No one needs this amount of Delta V, for the record. How's this looking? Good enough, I think. Actually, no, this is not good enough. This is good enough. There we go. Fantastic. So there's our slingshot around the moon, and we are out of here. Let's go ahead and warp to the moon. Here we come, moon. Oh, we can grab our infrared telescope experiment, I suppose. So let's go ahead and cancel that, and we can transmit this back. So we can review that data, and we can transmit that. There we go, 30 data received, 13 science added. We can try it again, but we're not going to get anything, so there's no real point. And we will warp on over to the moon, where I think we'll have new data that we can get. That'll be fine. Yes, new data over the moon. And we'll transmit that, 56% value. 17 science added. And from there, we can just slingshot off to where we're going to be, which is going to be like over here. That's like 12 days. Yeah, it's going to be like over here. We can't auto warp that far though. And so we will auto warp to here. Thanks for the assist, Moon. Pleasure doing business with you. And we're in space high over Kerbin again. And at this point, now we should be able to warp to here. That's 1 year in the future. That's 11 days. So we'll warp here. Excellent. So we're about to escape Kerbin. Here in a week, anyway. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and Kerbin escape momentarily. There we go, Kerbin escape. So we will go ahead and transmit this data as well. Cool. And then we can start object tracking. It's now mapping asteroids and comets passing near Kerbin orbit. Cool. So there's that all good to go. We still have 217 Delta V in this tank. This is so wildly overbuilt. I just find it hilarious. I like it. At any rate, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we'll see about maybe, just maybe, finding one of those asteroids. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thanks to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including Casserole, Sigma162, JJ Gamer, Spartan News, Rose Valentine, and all the rest. And, of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.